School Safeguarding Scandal in Wales letter for publication. My name is Jamie O'Brien, and I am 54 years of age, and live in the local authority of Blaenau Gwent County Borough Council, BGCBC South Wales. My son attends Chepstow School, and is in Year 8, in the local authority of Monmouthshire County Council MCC. Before I start, this letter and the facts contained in it are backed up by evidence in the form of emails, recordings of telephone conversations and meetings with the school, with transcripts of those recordings, police body-worn video footage, and data subject access request disclosures, SARs, from multiple authorities, under the Data Protection Act 2018 and under Articles 12 and 15 of GDPR. One thing learned throughout this, is that dates and times do not lie, but people do. If I never publicly recorded these individuals, you would never have believed I was telling the truth. This is only a snapshot of the much further detailed evidence I have, of the wrongdoings by the school, governors and the local authority MCC, and the Education Achievement Service funded by MCC on how I've been treated. This letter, and the evidence I have, will validate what I am saying is the truth, and the truth is that Chepstow School's registered teachers have been caught red-handed, with systemic safeguarding failures, all under the leadership of the head teacher, for MCC Chepstow School, Kelly Ann Waith, with her and her staff, that have all made false statements, that they thought wouldn't see the light of day, that is, until they met a parent who knew how to request personal information through the Data Protection Act 2018, and because of these false statements that have created documents from Children's Services Gloucestershire, to my surprise and shock, totaling 164 pages of safeguarding records, from my SA request dated the 6th of January, 2025 for all information held on my son and me, with the disclosure received the 10th of March, 2025, and of that disclosure, I began my journey of discovery, to find out the truth about what had really been going on with the school, and I identified all of the school's registered and non-registered teachers' wrongdoings at Chepstow School, from the information provided by the Data Protection Officer DP of a Children's Services, Gloucestershire, due to my son's mother living over the border from Chepstow. The disclosure were later matched against my SAR request for all safeguarding information held on my son and me dated the 25th of March, 2025, to the Data Protection Officer DPO for Monmouthshire County Council, MCC partially disclosed from their initial response. The 10th of April, 2025 that I had identified 20 safeguarding email omissions. These were the emails ignored by head teacher, Kelly Ann Waith, deputy head teacher, Lisa Jane Lane and the designated safeguarding person Catherine Louise Evans. My initial request response came back no information held on safeguarding information, including my child arrangement order being missing that was given to Kath Evans on the 30th of September, 2024, with the remainder of my SAR request dated the 25th of March, 2025, disclosure being received. Dated the 9th of June, 2025, provided by the MCC DPO Catherine Evans, and School DPO Liaison Head Teacher PA and Clerk to the Governors Nicola Shepherd. It was identified that my personal information was redacted and should not have been, as this was vital and critical consent for the school's completed DTR MAFS child safeguarding, duty to report, multi-agency referral forms, sent to Children's Services Gloucester, by Chepstow School, and should have been the same disclosure as Children's Services Gloucestershire disclosure, received the 10th of March, 2025. The other names contained within this letter are all public bodies who I have had to deal with, in failings in their capacities, within their roles, in regards to my safeguarding concerns and complaints, and my son's mother's name has not been mentioned, to protect her from being identifiable. How this all started: the 21st of August, 2024, my son's mother took my son out of the UK and breached my child arrangement order that was made in Newport Family Court against her for not allowing me to see my son back in 2015, when we had separated from a civil partnership. My son's mother, up until this point, had always honored my child arrangement order and her parental responsibilities, and informed me of the many holidays when she took my son abroad. But for this particular holiday, she told my son when picking the tickets up from the holiday shop, not to tell your dad. As he was excited to tell me, I only found out when my son sent me messages and images of a drag show they were watching in their hotel, and rather than spoil their holiday by challenging the court order with his mum, I replied to my son, "Hope you have a brilliant time." My son made me aware what his mum said when he came back to the UK and was in my care, and I took this up with his mother through WhatsApp messaging on her return to the UK, and was met with a barrage of abuse, which led me to apply to the courts for an enforcement order. It was not so much of the abuse I had from his mum, as I had been used to her bitterness for some 9 years, but as a father who loves his son so much, and has a fantastic relationship. For me, it was about knowing he is safe. Should anything happen abroad on his journey to and from their destinations, his health, or if they were attacked on holiday, as we live in a world where these risks are possible, and as in the court order, my son's mother was to provide flight details, hotel and contact numbers, which she failed to do, I would never have done this to his mother, and have always welcomed her taking my son on holiday. This would not have been an issue for me, so didn't understand why she would do this. The 30th of September, 2024, I raised a parental concern with Chepstow School about the mother of my son, who is a full-time registered mental health nurse, as she had broken my child arrangement order, and took my son out of the UK without my knowledge or consent or leave of the court, on the 21st of August, 2024. I spoke to the designated safeguarding person for the school, Kath Evans, and advised her of this and gave her paper copies of my child arrangement order, which is more or less 50/50 shared care, along with my application for an enforcement order from Newport Family Court to have the matter heard, and print-offs of the mother's threatening WhatsApp messages. After she arrived back to the UK, she threatened to take my son out of the UK again, knowing that her sister lives in Dubai, and Dubai is not part of the Hague Convention. I took these threats seriously, as the mother previously threatened to do this in 2015 when I ended our relationship. I love my son dearly, and as you can imagine, I believed that the school safeguarding policy and the safeguarding practitioners, who are trained and competent in the policies and guidance, would take my evidence seriously. My visit was mainly to make the school aware firstly, and that if the mother attempts to take my son out of education when he is in my care, to notify the appropriate authorities and to call me, as I wanted to safeguard my son and do the right thing by my son, as a responsible parent, and in his best interest. The designated safeguarding person, Kath Evans, was very disinterested with my concerns, and didn't say anything other than "I will let all the school staff know," and agreed and assured me that the mother would not be able to take my son out of education in my time, and now she has the court order. The reception staff will be the first point to be briefed to prevent the mother from unauthorized removal, when he was in my care, which came as a relief. Kath Evans also said that she would have to report this to Children's Services Gloucestershire, and I said that this was harsh, as there was no risk, now that the school is aware, as I only wanted to make the school aware, and have contingencies in place. But Kath Evans insisted, by saying no, that this is what she has to do. I now know that Kath Evans didn't follow the Gwent safeguarding guidance. From reading this later on, in its entirety, she did not advise me of anything that she should have followed. She did not ask for my consent to the DTR MAF, but not knowing the process, I did say, well, I guess you have your processes to follow. This was certainly not informed consent, and she must have took this as implied consent. In any case, I would not have consented to this if I knew I had a choice. I did not have sight of the child safeguarding duty to report, multi-agency referral form, DTR MAF, and had no knowledge of what one even was, and heard nothing after this from the school, or the local authority Monmouthshire County Council, MCC, or from Blaenau Gwent BGCBC local authority where I live. No follow-up, no outcome, no communication, nothing. One thing is for certain, and inevitable, the paper trail leads back to the MCC in terms of safeguarding, to children's services and social service heads of department. Since that meeting, I discovered through my dealings with the courts, that my son's mother omitted my child arrangement order from another case she was involved in, for an occupation order against her previous partner. This was for allegations against him, and her alleged safeguarding issues. My son's mother did not at any point make me aware of this, nor at any point did she make Children's Services Gloucestershire aware of this. She did not report this to the authorities, which I found very strange, only the courts. But I believe this was deliberate to conceal the fact to the courts to win a successful application to remove another father and son from the property they shared, exactly the same as she did to me back in 2015, when I ended our relationship. And I believe to conceal this from Children's Services Gloucestershire was because my son's mother and her late father were known to Children's Services in October 2006, because her first son was badly beaten by his grandfather and suffered physical and mental abuse, as the mother gave permission to her father to punish and discipline him for his involvement in a barn fire, as this brought great shame on the family name. Her first son was cautioned at Stonehouse Police Station for arson, and this was confirmed by her first son's father in a conversation I had in December 2024, and the grandfather saw fit to punish her first son for all the years of study that could have put her career in jeopardy, as the mother only became a registered mental health nurse 2 months prior. On the 16th of August 2006, the injuries her first son received were so much so that he could not sit down comfortably in class at Slimbridge Primary School, which is why the school involved Children's Services, and both the grandfather and the mother were called to a meeting at Slimbridge Primary School for an interview. I'm confident this can be validated by Children's Services Gloucestershire in their archives, as the retention of records are kept for 75 years, or upon death of the child. This was also confirmed to me by her late father when I began dating the mother in 2009, as the grandfather could not understand why they became involved and said he was showing him discipline by giving him a bloody good spanking. The grandfather was a retired captain from the army, and I said to him, society has moved on. You're not in the army now, there are now laws against this. Never did I think this conversation would come back to haunt me. The 25th of November, 2024, I had a meeting with the deputy head teacher, Lisa Lane, and an ALN support teacher, Claire Rulia, who was acting as note taker with my sister as witness. In that meeting, which lasted about 25 minutes, I advised them of the further breaches of the child arrangement order, and the safeguarding omissions, and the fact that I was denied by my son's mother as a father to safeguard against these allegations, which concerned me. I did not advise them of her once being known to Children's Services at this point, as I am very process and factual driven. As a student of law, I know these would have been allegations with no evidence other than my word, and believed that I would need to prove this. I later proved this to be the case, through the Stroud Library archives, and found the particular newspaper article, identifying the date of the event happening. I decided to record this meeting, because of my previous meeting with the designated safeguarding person, Kath Evans, on the 30th of September, 2024, feeling that my concerns were not taken seriously, and having been given no record of what was said, or any feedback, I felt this again, as it was a very difficult meeting with everything said that they can't do, with finding opportunities to interrupt rather than listen, and very little support was offered, with Claire Roulier making unprofessional comments, saying that she thought her ex-partner was bad, although when I explained that I would be keeping my son off school, until the police investigate the mother, this was part of the discussion, when I said that I didn't want his education to be affected, both Lisa Lane and Claire Roulier did appear to change stance, and did say that they could accommodate this by emailing him with school work. I also discussed lots of other things with regards to the safeguards, barriers and risks to his well-being. I explained that the mother omitted the child arrangement order and has committed offences, and I would have to contact the police, and that my son would not be in school the next day to facilitate this. The deputy head teacher Lisa Lane and ALN support teacher Claire Roulier, who was taking notes, agreed to send work home to my son's email address. At no point during the meeting was there any cause for concern, other than they said we will have to take guidance on this, and they certainly did not ask for my consent for ADTR MAF to be completed. A full transcript of the recording was made of what we discussed, which amounted to 4 full pages. For my records, I did not ask for their consent to record, as I was in a public place, and not subject to the Data Protection Act as a member of public. The 25th of November, 2024, Kath Evans updated the DTR MAF dated the 30th of September, 2025, who also claimed and lied that she was in the meeting, with no mention of Claire Roulier, who was note taker, or my sister, who was a witness. She claimed it was just her, Lisa Lane, and myself. This was identified on the redacted consent for DTR MAF the 30th of September, 2024, updated the 25th of November, 2024, from the local authorities MCC, DPO Catherine Evans, and this consent should not have been redacted in their disclosure and should have been the same as the disclosure from Children's Services Gloucestershire DPO. The school's DPO liaison Nicola Shepherd-Ho was PA to the head teacher and clerk to the governors, and MCC DPO redacted the words "Dad has consented to this report," which I clearly did not, and I never got the original copy of the DTR MAF dated the 30th of September, 2024, from the MCC DPO. Only a copy of the DTR MAF dated the 30th of September, 2024, updated the 25th of November, 2024, with the consent redacted. The discovery was made through the disclosure of information supplied by the Children's Services Gloucestershire DPO, who did provide the DTR MAF the 30th of September, 2024, unredacted as the MCC DPO Catherine Evans should have disclosed, but concealed this from me, and breached my rights under GDPR, to cover up the wrongdoings. Kath Evans updated an existing DTR MAF, with a completely new entry making a false statement, and escalated lies, knowing full well what went on in the meeting the 25th of November, 2024, and her involvement with Claire Roulier and Lisa Lane. All involved were party to giving a false statement of information to Children's Services Gloucester. I discovered much later through a subject access request, SAR, made to the school's local authority, MCC Data Protection Officer, Catherine Evans, dated the 12th of April, 2025, and response dated the 2nd of July, 2025, for any safeguarding information with regards to my son and I, that the disclosure response revealed that the words said in this meeting on the 25th of November, 2024, were completely turned against me, and without my knowledge or consent the designated safeguarding person, Kath Evans, who was not present in the meeting, updated the original DTR MAF dated the 30th of September, 2024 that did not have my informed consent, and updated the form in red text updated 25.11.24 next to the original the 30th of September, 2024 with a total in new entry, highlighted in red text, and what it revealed was lots of lies, words that I never used, words that were manipulated and twisted, to advance the school's concerns, not mentioned in the meeting, to the detriment of myself, without my knowledge or consent, and I now began to understand why this was the case. My consent had been redacted, to deliberately hide the school's wrongdoings, and to my horror, the school deliberately concealed the critical and vital information from me, to cover up the wrongdoings. Also, it is forbidden to update a DTR MAF. The only exceptional circumstances for a DTR MAF to be updated is to correct minor spelling on the original entry, and under no circumstances should it be updated with a completely new entry. A new DTR MAF should have been completed by Kath Evans. The 26th of November, 2024, one day after our meeting, Claire Roulier, on a Children's Services contact record, made claims against me of parental mental ill health who is not qualified in mental health, and without any reliance of evidence, continued on making a false statement. This was identified from the Children's Services Gloucestershire DPO disclosure, from my SAR request dated the 6th of January, 2025 for all information held on my son, with the disclosure being received the 10th of March, 2025 to my absolute shock of what the teachers at the school have done, and at this point, my suspicions were that this was on advice given from my son's mother. Claire Roulier created a contact record, updating them on the 26th of November, 2024, making another false statement, and continuing in escalating lies and defamation, knowing full well what went on in the meeting the 25th of November, 2024, and her involvement with Kath Evans and Lisa Lane in continuing to give a false statement of information to Children's Services Gloucester. The 26th of November, 2024, I was arrested by the police on false allegations made to the police by the mother, of harassment without violence, but fortunately because of previous incidents involving my son's mother, I have been subjected to wearing a body camera and audio recording device, on pick-up and drop-offs of my son, and on this occasion, the whole event was captured, both the video footage and audio recording. The independent witness that doesn't lie proved my innocence, and was released from police custody Gloucestershire on the 27th of November, 2024 at 12:05 p.m. after 16 hours unlawful imprisonment, and released with no further action. I cannot speak any further about this, as I had to sign a confidentiality agreement, due to my claim against the police force in question. The police force did not pursue my son's mother for making a false statement and wasting police time, which I found strange, until I requested the information via ASAR, and discovered that the mother, who is a full-time registered mental health nurse, claimed to the police that I was known for mental health issues. This prompted me to make a further request for information, for my full medical history, through my GP via ASAR, to prove that I have never suffered from mental health issues and have no history of such. I now know from the police SAR's disclosure that I made on the 29th of November, 2024, and from the recording that my son made, of the Children's Services visit to his mother's home. My son's mother mentioned several times that I was mentally unwell, and saying that the police will get him on a Section 136, saying I should know I'm a mental health nurse. The school carried on this defamation of my character. The SAR's request dated the 29th of November, 2024, disclosure of information from the police and the 50-minute recording of Nikki Hunt and Jack Holloway, from Children's Services Gloucester's visit to my son's mother's house on the 20th of December, 2024, proves this, and as recorded in the SAR request dated the 6th of January, 2025 for all information held on my son and me, with the disclosure provided to me, received the 10th of March, 2025 states the visit, and dates and times don't lie. The 27th of November, 2024 Kath Evans created a contact record with Children's Services Gloucester and made further false statements, but to add insult to injury, in a very deceitful and cruel act. Kath Evans as claimed on the Children's Services contact record for the 27th of November, 2024 at 12:16 p.m. Kath Evans further escalated things by saying that the father has not returned his child to school. The only issue with this is that this was physically impossible. This was not my allocated time for my son to be in my care, on the child arrangement order, and Kath Evans would have known this. My son was in his mother's care, and it was the mother who kept him off school, as I, the father, was released from police custody at Gloucestershire, on the 27th of November, 2024 at 12:05 p.m. some 31 miles away, from an unlawful arrest and imprisonment, due to his mother's false allegations, and 11 minutes prior to her creating the contact record on the 27th of November, 2024 at 12:16 p.m. The SAR's disclosures dated the 10th of April, 2025 and the 2nd of July, 2025 from the school PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd and MCC DPO Catherine Evans, proves that Kath Evans lied on the Children's Services contact record, as the attached PDF, my son's name, attendance cert disclosed, clearly shows that his attendance was marked with code C for other authorized circumstances and an entry in the log for the 27th of November, 2024 by his form teacher saying CE, Kath Evans, aware of the reason HSP, homeschooling parent. This proves my son was in his mother's care, and the disclosure information provided from the DPO at Children's Services Gloucester validates and proves this. Dates and times don't lie, and I believe the school and the mother were in collusion with each other as critical friends working against me. My son was in his mother's care on the 27th of November, 2024 as per the child arrangement order, but this didn't stop Kath Evans from causing further grief by making a contact record to further escalate things, and make a further false statement. I was not due to pick my son up as per the child arrangement order until the 28th of November, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. The 27th of November, 2024 Kath Evans continued by creating another DTR MAF, updating them on 26-11-2024 making another false statement, knowing full well what went on in the meeting the 25th of November, 2024, and her involvement with Claire Roulier and Lisa Lane in continuing to give false statements of information to Children's Services Gloucester. The reason why I believe that the school and the mother had been working together is that at this point I began to see that one parent had been treated differently, and after all the evidence I gave to back up what I was saying, through the safeguarding process, one parent has been allowed through the safeguarding process to use her position as a registered mental health nurse, to go unchallenged, with no evidence other than her word, to create a level of defamation against my character, that is not only untrue as my medical records prove. I have no history of mental health issues or diagnosis, and my mental health can only be assessed by qualified professionals such as psychologists or psychiatrists. I believe her telling the school this was from pure bitterness, as I had currently been dealing with false statements, claims made by the mother to the DWP solicitors, via their witness statement, that I never paid for my child from 2015 to 2022, all of which were proved by copies of my bank statements to be lies, and the mother's claims were false allegations, as I have always paid by direct pay methods, and included in these bank statements the reference was my Child Maintenance Service, CMS, unique number, as the bank reference number, matching the payments exactly to the copies of the CMS letters of payments agreed, and paid into her bank account. This was to the embarrassment of my son's mother, that nearly cost me a forced sale on my house, for exaggerated and deceitful lies, and I am still fighting this now, but this level of defamation and lies of my mental health, was continued on and instigated by the school, to children's services, the police, with the involvement of Cafcass and the courts, that I believe may have contributed to the dismissal of my enforcement order by the courts, by process of requesting those falsely declared DTR MAFs, from the MCC/Children's Services or by other means not yet identified. I do have proof that my son's mother has gone round talking to just about anyone who will listen to her, that I'm mentally unwell, and has been pretty convincing to the authorities so far. There's just one issue, that no one has asked her for proof. It has amazed me that no one has challenged her on this, especially the school, as this is in the safeguarding guidance, but sadly absent in practice. One thing the school has shown through all of this is that they have been partisan to listening to the advice given from another parent, who has abused her position as a registered mental health nurse, and the evidence is increasingly clear of the one-sided support and help given to one parent, to the detriment of another. Don't take my word for it, just look at the facts. The 29th of November, 2024, I visited the school at around 11:42 p.m. and was very anxious, and have Graves' disease which affects my thyroid. I spoke to the receptionists, and said, "Can I see Kelly Waithe immediately please?" And was met with hostility from the receptionist Karen, who said it doesn't work like that. I replied, "Well, I'm requesting I see her immediately. Are there any safeguarding officers?" I wanted to make them aware of what happened on the 26th of November, 2024. Then I was invited into a meeting room where the head teacher's PA and clerk to the governor's Nicola Shepherd came in to take some details, and I said that I need someone in authority. I need a safeguarding officer now please. The meeting room door was left open and I wasn't comfortable that they were not showing me any dignity or privacy with what I wanted to speak to them about, and closed the meeting room door only for members of staff to open it repeatedly. The DSP Kath Evans came to the door and was not even prepared to listen to what I had to say, and was hostile, rude and insulting by saying, "You need to leave. Do you understand what I just said? We need you to leave the building." It was at this point I called the police, as I was in disbelief that the DSP Kath Evans was not even prepared to listen what my concerns were, and staff whilst I was talking to the police kept opening the door, so I closed the door and locked it for privacy. The police arrived shortly after my call. I left the building to meet with the police. I asked PC 2715 Alana Ford to activate her body-worn video camera on her arrival, and she asked me to stay outside the reception, but I politely declined this. Even though all the classroom blinds were down, I suggested to her that I would position myself where the bus bays are, as this was out of the way. PC 2715 Alana Ford made her way into the school to see staff and then came out to see me at 12:23 p.m., saying the school said no offenses have been committed, they just want you to leave the site, which I agreed, as it was clear to me which side they were on, and it wasn't mine. They didn't want to know. All of this interaction was recorded, on my audio recorder, from the time of arrival at 11:42 am the school to the time of departure. I left the school peacefully at 12:44 p.m. At this point I was unaware of the false statements in DTR MAFs made by the registered and non-registered teachers, and the final false statement made was by the head teacher, Kelly Waith, who was not present during the whole time of my interaction with the staff. The 29th of November, 2024, the head teacher, Kelly Waith, created a DTR MAF, and completely turned my visit on the school premises in what only can be described as a complete fabrication, claiming, Mr. O'Brien has since attended school, at approx 11:30. At the time, I was in a meeting with a number of different staff. He was demanding to see me and appeared hostile in front of our receptionists. He spoke with our deputy head teacher, Mrs. Lane, in meeting room 1, who advised he needed to leave site and arrange a formal meeting. Mr. O'Brien refused and became irate. Mrs. Lane left the room to call 101 for assistance due to his volatility. He then said he was contacting 999 and proceeded to lock himself in the room. Approximately 20 minutes, he left through reception, informing staff he was incredibly unhappy with their support and had recorded the conversation on his device, which looks like a black dictaphone. Police arrived and spoke to Mr. O'Brien, who continued to refuse to leave site and shout for the head teacher. The 29th of November, 2024, a Troubled Families form from Gloucestershire County Council was completed, listing the following indicators: He1 child needs support with his mental health, DAP1 family affected by domestic abuse or interpersonal violence, practitioner indicators: He1 child needs support with his mental health. My son's name, notes. Early help episode started the 29th of November, 2024. He too adult needs support with his mental health. My son's name, notes. Early help episode started the 29th of November, 2024. FR2 harmful. Level of parental conflict, i.e., when it is frequent, intense or poorly resolved. My son's name, notes. Early help episode started the 29th of November, 2024. AB1 emotional, physical, sexual abuse, or neglect, historic or current, within the household. My son's name, notes. Early help episode started the 29th of November, 2024. DAP1 family affected by domestic abuse or interpersonal violence. Family, notes. Early help episode started the 29th of November, 2024. It appears that the head teacher, Kelly Waith from Chepstow School, or one of her subordinates under her leadership, used my son's mental health against me because of my visit to the school, then lied that he had a dentist appointment, and registered and non-registered staff were involved. For my peaceful visit on Friday the 29th of November, 2024, my arrival time at school was 11:42 p.m., and I left at 12:44 p.m. A call to the school on my son's whereabouts was at 2:45 p.m., 2 hours 1 minutes, after I left, and was told my son had a dentist appointment, and the Troubled Families form was used to allow my son's mother, agreed by the school, to take my son out of my care, and both lied to my son and me, by using this form, and against the arrangement order agreed with the school, back on the 30th of September, 2024 with Kath Evans. This, I believe, was not to protect my son, but to protect the repertoire of the school. The head teacher, Kelly Waith, also stated in my SAR disclosure dated the 2nd of July, 2025, school will be seeking advice from MCC legal team around Mr. O'Brien's behavior towards staff, so MCC's legal team were also involved. The audio recording will tell a completely different story, and prove these were her lies, and prove my innocence. I cannot believe that she would write this false statement knowing that I was recording. This type of abuse of power is truly shocking. The 29th of November, 2024 in my SAR response dated the 2nd of July, 2025 I was given a document that didn't show an address of who it was sent to from the head teacher, Kelly Waith, stating, on the 29th of November, 2024, I copied Mrs. Heather Heaney into an email in which I submitted a safeguarding referral concerning my son's name. In addition, I sent this to Children's Helpdesk at gloucestershire.gov.uk and Childduty at monmouthshire.gov.uk. The head teacher, Kelly Waith, appears also to have messaged all the teachers. Good afternoon, colleagues. I am submitting a DTR for my son's name today following an altercation with Mr. O'Brien at Chepstow School. As a result, police were called. This is the fourth DTR that has been submitted this week, raising concerns around Mr. O'Brien's hostile and erratic behavior, and the detrimental effect my son's name, parents' relationship is having on his emotional well-being. This was a completely false statement, and turned against me, as it was I who called the police, and I recorded the whole interaction. It shows that I was completely calm and peaceful, and the hostility and erratic behavior was from the staff, hence the call to the police. I also have the body-worn video of PC 2715 Alana Ford, that shows my demeanor, and the police officer, thanking me for being so peaceful. I was also denied the school camera footage by the school business manager Victoria Williams, in a SAR dated the 12th of December, 2024, that would have proved their awful conduct and behavior, and intimidation that gave me cause to call the police. The 29th of November, 2024, my tracking app that my son and I set up, alerted me that my son had broken the ring fence of the school, and was heading in the direction of his mom's house in Sedberry, which is on the border of Chepstow. This worried me as my son was in my care until the 30th of November, 2024 as per the court order and as agreed with the DSP Kath Evans in Chepstow School. On the 30th of September, 2024 the receptionists were to alert the authorities, and myself, if his mother takes my son out of education. At around 2:45 p.m., I called the school and spoke to the receptionist, Liz Downham, and this is the following transcript from my recorded phone call. Liz said, "Good afternoon, Chepstow School." Jamie replied, "Hello, is that Liz?" Liz said, "It is, yes." Jamie replied, "Yeah, why is my son's name gone from school?" There was a long pause. Liz replied, "I'm sorry." Jamie said, "Why is my son's name missing from school?" Liz replied, His mom's collected him, he's got a dentist appointment." Jamie said, I wasn't made aware of this, and the child arrangement order says that he is to remain in my care until tomorrow. You've just made a big mistake, Chepstow School. I'm now calling the police is what was said but didn't record." "Okay," Liz replied. "Okay, yep, bye," and Liz ended the call. There was no dentist appointment, and the SAR request and response from his dentist proved there was never any dentist appointment booked for that day, so the school lied to me and my son. My son, however, not being happy that he'd been lied to, recorded his mum on his phone, and she admitted, "I'm sorry the school lied, they lied, but we did it for your own safety to get you here," and told him that his dad was at the school and the police had to take him away. And this confirms what I stated above on the 27th of November, 2024, and I believe the school and the mother were in collusion with each other working against me. I would now extend these to what I regard as being the collective of all the services, i.e. social services, children's services, police, school, and lastly the registered mental health nurse, as all of these are government/MCC funded. So is it feasible to say, were they protecting their own? My son was in my care until 10:30 am the 30th of November, 2024, but Chepstow School and Gloucestershire Police undermined my child arrangement order, and would not return him to my care, which was very upsetting, especially after all the evidence of the school and my son's mother lying to my son and I. That's not justice, that's persecution. The 12th of December, 2024, I made a SAR request as follows. My name is Jamie O'Brien. Under the Data Protection Act 2018, I am requesting a subject access request for information/data held about me from your external and internal CCTV cameras for the 29th of November 2024, and on the 10th of January 2025 SAR request response was please note, this is the only footage we have and our system does not allow us to record as live, so have been able to take screenshots from the time you enter reception. We do not hold any external data. This would have proved the teachers and staff's intimidating conduct and behavior. That gave cause for me to call the police on my peaceful visit the 29th of November, 2024, but the video footage was denied. I then said to the school business manager, Victoria Williams, that I wished to complain, as I knew what she said was not true. The 26th of March, 2025, Nicola Shepherd, the head teacher's PA and clerk to the governors, in her SAR response to my SAR dated the 25th of March, 2025, claimed that Victoria Williams, the school business manager, Victoria Williams no longer works with Chepstow School, so in her absence I am temporarily overseeing all requests/complaints that come into the school. Victoria Williams, as of the 7th of December, 2025, is still working as the Chepstow School business manager, as validated on her LinkedIn profile. The 29th of March, 2025, Catherine Evans, MCC DPO, in an FOI request stated, Chepstow School's business manager, Mrs. Victoria Williams, left her role at the school on 14-02-2025. Victoria Williams, as of the 7th of December, 2025, is still working as the Chepstow School business manager, as validated on her LinkedIn profile. The 8th of April, 2025, Nicola Shepherd, the head teacher's PA and clerk to the governors, used a spreadsheet from an email that I sent to Kelly Waith on the 6th of April, 2025 at 8:53 with my son's name on, so that the school were clear on when my son was in my care, and when he was in his mum's, to prevent my son being taken again, following on from my son being taken out of my care the 29th of November, 2024, and against my child. Arrangement order. Nicola Shepherd deliberately and deceitfully changed the original spreadsheet last saved by myself dated the 6th of April, 2025 at 07:20 hours, and changed the name of the spreadsheet to the child arrangement order, which also changed the properties of that spreadsheet to record it last saved by Nicola Shepherd date the 8th of April, 2025 at 14:22 hours, and claimed this spreadsheet to be my legal child arrangement order, from my SAR request dated the 25th of March, 2025, in the SAR partial disclosure dated the 10th of April, 2025, and remaining the 2nd of July, 2025. This was because they could not find the child arrangement order. This was an Excel spreadsheet sent back to me claiming this as a legal instrument. I found the information out when clicking on the properties of the returned spreadsheet. I could not believe what I was seeing, and was so fraudulent, they lost my order. The 11th of July, 2025, I made a request to the PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd, for the chair of governors' email address, to make a complaint about the head teacher Kelly Waith. The 14th of July, 2025, Nicola Shepherd responds with an email link stating, for complaints regarding the head teacher, the contact is Mr. Keith Dunn OBE, and you can contact him on keithdunn@chepstowgovernors.co.uk. I know Keith may not check emails over the day next or so, as he is away. The 14th of July, 2025 complaints were raised with school, for the following registered and non-registered staff: receptionist, Liz Downham, PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd, ALNCO, Claire Roulier, deputy head teacher, Lisa Lane ALNCO and designated safeguarding person, Kath Evans. The 14th of July, 2025 a complaint was raised with the chair, Keith Dunn OBE for head teacher, Kelly Waith. The 16th of July, 2025 complaints acknowledged by email from the head teacher, Kelly Waith for the ALNCO, Claire Roulier, deputy head teacher, Lisa Lane ALNCO and designated safeguarding person and Kath Evans, by stating, "Thank you for your emails and for bringing your concerns to my attention. I want to assure you that I take all complaints very seriously. Each matter raised will be reviewed carefully and addressed in line with our procedures." With the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE copied in, I did not receive a response from anyone for 11 weeks, 6 of those were the summer holidays. The 16th of July, 2025 complaints acknowledged by email from the head teacher, Kelly Waith for the PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd, by stating, "Thank you for your emails and for bringing your concerns to my attention. I want to assure you that I take all complaints very seriously. Each matter raised will be reviewed carefully and addressed in line with our procedures." With the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE copied in, I did not receive a response from anyone for 11 weeks, 6 of those were the summer holidays. The 16th of July, 2025 complaint acknowledged by email from the PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd for the receptionist, Liz Downham, by stating, "Thank you for your emails and for bringing your concerns to my attention. I want to assure you that I take all complaints very seriously. Each matter raised will be reviewed carefully and addressed in line with our procedures." With the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE copied in, I did not receive a response from anyone for 11 weeks, 6 of those were the summer holidays. The 7th of October, 2025 I thought I was very patient, and exhausted the process, and because of the school's ignorance, and the governors being the final arbiter, as stated in the school's complaints policy, and having just cause, as the outcome was a total ignorance by all, so it was impossible to escalate, a referral was made to the Education Workforce Council, EWC, Fitness to Practice team, for the registered teachers, and the school's failure, considering the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE who is the final arbiter, for his failure to handle my complaints. The 21st of October, 2025 on reviewing the evidence sent to the EWC, I discovered that the link that the PA and clerk to the governors, Nicola Shepherd gave me was a false email address. I didn't know at the time, but the school does not have a .co.uk domain, only a .net domain, and as I sent my complaint to the link provided, I trusted that Nicola was being truthful, but it appeared to me that this could only have been deliberate, as she would have had to physically type this in, and knows that his official school email has a .net domain, as now evidenced in her response of acknowledgement to the complaint the 16th of July, 2025. It wasn't just a simple copy and paste mistake, as the co.uk domain does not exist. For Keith Dunn OBE, if it did I would have received a response. With that being said, I emailed the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE, to advise him of this, and the complaints, that have now been referred to the EWC on his school email address keithdowngovernors.net.23-10-2025 Susan Street, Head of Fitness to Practice for the EWC, requested further information from me, and I am currently waiting for them to investigate the overwhelming evidence, and further supporting evidence to help them in their investigation, of the serious misconduct and professional incompetence. The 24th of October, 2025. The Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE acknowledged my email dated the 21st of October, 2025, from his personal unsecured Gmail account, and not his official school email address which I sent my email to. That contained 9 private and confidential attachments, which were then transmitted back to me in his response, from his unsecured Gmail account, and breached my personal information. The same person that is responsible for the governance and policy of the school. This didn't sit comfortably with me, and I would have thought would have held himself to a higher standard than to go against those policies, namely the school's data protection policy, that he would have been trained and competent in, and this breach would have to be reported to the MCC DPO Catherine Evans, as this was unacceptable to me. He breached the Data Protection Act 2018, as I want my data to be kept secure, which is why I responded to him on his school's official email address keithdunn@chepstowgovernors.net. Dated the 26th of October, 2025 in my response, and received no further responses from him in this matter, not even an apology. The 26th of October, 2025 I emailed the MCC DPO Catherine Evans for this breach of my data, and part of her response dated the 28th of November, 2025 stated, "Dear Mr. O'Brien, following your email dated the 26th of October, 2025, I can confirm that, on behalf of Chepstow School, the matter has been fully investigated and your concerns were reviewed robustly. We have taken immediate steps to reinforce our data handling procedures and to ensure this does not happen again." This was short-lived as exactly the same thing happened for a second time dated the 4th of December, 2025. The 7th of November, 2025 the Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, introduced himself to me through the Chepstow School app, which I found rather odd. That was sent on behalf of Jonathan Keohane, Vice Chair of Governors, from the school office mailbox, titled, "Response to your complaint." I did not think it was appropriate given the complaints about data breaches and my right to privacy, and saw this as a bit of an insult. It wasn't very personal, although secure. It didn't give me that feeling I was being taken seriously at all. The message ended saying that he would be in touch. The 14th of November, 2025 the Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, emailed me to say the complaints had been passed to him and he was in a position to hear the complaints at the MCC offices in Usk, and not the school, which I found strange, as the complaints are normally held on school grounds, and scheduled 30 minutes. For 3 complex complaints I thought was a joke. He also mentioned, additionally he will record the meeting, and will only listen, and not make comment, of which this is not mentioned in the school complaints policy, or Welsh guidance for that matter, and unlike a member of public, that is not subject to the Data Protection Act 2018, as a company, organization or institution, of which he is, as a data controller, he must ask for my consent, which he didn't. I don't mind being recorded, as I have nothing to hide. But a red flag for me is not being asked for my consent, and assuming consent is automatically going to be given, which made me very suspicious of whether he was going to sweep my complaints under the carpet, as I have been told by many parents this has happened previously. The 17th of November, 2025 to the 24th of November, 2025 from the numerous email threads the Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, after challenging him and clarifying his misunderstandings that were vague, in previous correspondence, and asking lots of questions, which I don't think he has been used to, he emailed me to say that I want to assure you that the remaining complaints will be investigated fully with integrity and rigor. The governing body is an independent group of the school's leadership. whose instrument is to support and hold the school to account. The Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, requested I send the complaints to him again directly, so he personally has all the information of the complaints. The 24th of November, 2025, in an email to the Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, I sent those complaints in individual emails dated the 24th of November, 2025, for the receptionist Liz Downham at Chepstow School, the head teacher's personal assistant Nicola Shepherd at Chepstow School, the ALN co-support staff Claire Roulier at Chepstow School, and the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE at Chepstow School. The 25th of November, 2025, the Vice Chair, Jonathan Keohane, acknowledged those complaints and I sent a further 5 attachments. The 27th of November, 2025, I attended the school for a pre-booked parents' evening. Prior to this, I had absolutely no communication from the school or the local authority by email, letter or any other type of communication since my visit on the 29th of November, 2024, not for the want of trying, I might add, that subsequently involved Gwent Police and Gloucestershire Police, following on from the school lying about my son's dentist appointment that never was, and the fact that I have been continued to be ignored by the school, with regard to my son's education, via my numerous emails, phone calls and messages left, with the exception of my visit on 27-11-2025 at Parents' Evening, after over a year of ignorance. The head teacher, Kelly Waith, on signing into the school, decided to approach me and tried to use bullying tactics, and discriminate against me, to leave the school, for a pre-booked parents' evening, unless I engaged with her, which I politely declined, and said that I have been advised not to engage with you. This was due to the EWC referral. Then she continued to follow and harass me, raising her voice, and threatened to have me removed, and call the police, as I had said the only way she would remove me from this public school is to call the police, which of course never happened, as they would not come out and waste their time because a parent would not engage with her, and although a little troubled as she would not give a reason for her engagement, I went about my business and had a lovely engagement and excellent conversations with my son's teachers about his progress, at my allocated and booked times, who were also lovely and amazing by the way. After I left the school, I travelled back home and immediately emailed the MCC DPO Catherine Evans and requested the CCTV footage of the incident, via a SAR, and emailed the Vice Chair Jonathan Keohane to raise a new complaint that same evening of the 27th of November, 2025. This interaction with the head teacher Kelly Waith was also audio recorded, and I sent him the recording. The 27th of November, 2025 update to original letter for publication. MCC DPO Catherine Evans, in her response the 23rd of December, 2025, has again denied me the footage of the incident at Parents' Evening dated the 27th of November, 2025. Instead, Catherine Evans has provided me with 5 still images that do not show the engagement with head teacher Kelly Waith, and do not account for the unaccounted 58 minutes I was there, but 2 still images show me entering the school via an external camera. The only issue with this is that in a Freedom of Information request response dated the 11th of April, 2025, the MCC DPO Catherine Evans responded and claimed, I have also clarified that the school does not have any external CCTV cameras. The 2 still images are clearly captured from an external camera. The fact that I was previously denied the existence of external cameras in an FOI response dated the 11th of April, 2025, only to provide data from one such camera now, is a matter of significant concern. This confirms that in my SAR dated the 12th of December, 2024, when I made a SAR request as follows: my name is Jamie O'Brien. Under the Data Protection Act 2018, I am requesting a subject access request for information /data held about me from your external and internal CCTV cameras for the 29th of November 2024, and on the 10th of January 2025, when the SAR request was responded to, Victoria Williams claimed, "Please note, this is the only footage we have and our system does not allow us to record as live, so have been able to take screenshots from the time you enter reception. We do not hold any external data." This would have proved the teachers' and staff's intimidating conduct and behavior that gave cause for me to call the police on my peaceful visit the 29th of November 2024, but the video footage was denied. The fact that Catherine Evans has allowed her ego to continue this lie is truly shocking from MCC, local authority. There are also much more failures to this response, and a complaint has been made. The 28th of November 2025, the Vice Chair acknowledged my complaint and stated, "Dear Mr. O'Brien, your complaint, below, regarding the head teacher of Chepstow School, Mrs. Kelly Waith, has been received. Please accept this email as acknowledgement. An investigation process will now start. I will be in touch in due course." The 28th of November 2025, from his acknowledgement on the 28th of November 2025 to the 30th of November 2025, numerous emails with Jonathan Kearhan exchanging opposite views took place on the Data Protection Act, as he was trying to burden me that I was the data controller of the recordings and that I had to comply with the Data Protection Act 2018, and did I ask for consent? To which I replied that I was the owner of the recording, and as a member of public I am not subject to the DPA 2018, only companies, organizations and institutions are, so didn't need their consent. After this exchange, he did say he would need to consult with Catherine Evans MCC DPO, and would pause the investigation and would be in touch. A number of questions were asked by myself to him and for him to ask the MCC DPO, and he gave no responses. Then, without any agreement or notice, the Vice Chair Jonathan Kearhan cherry-picked what he thought were the potential issues, and not considered any of the bullying and harassment, or misconduct issues, with the threats to have me removed from a pre-booked parents' evening if I did not engage with her. Then very deviously issued an outcome letter dated the 3rd of December 2025 saying my complaint is not upheld. This was completely outrageous, and beyond comprehension. The 4th of December 2025, I emailed the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE, to ask for my complaint outcome to be reviewed and wrote the reasons why, and attached 3 PDF documents with my personal information, and he responded dated the 4th of December 2025 again from his personal Gmail address and not the official school email, creating a second breach of my data. And after the MCC DPO Catherine Evans stated from the 1st breach of my data, dated the 26th of October 2025 in her email dated the 28th of November 2025, we have taken immediate steps to reinforce our data handling procedures and to ensure this does not happen again. To add insult to injury, he copied into the email Nicola Shepherd, the school PA and clerk to the governors, who was also involved in the complaints, and now had sight of the complaint and outcome, for the head teacher Kelly Waith, breaking confidentiality, creating a clear conflict of interest, giving no thought or care for my situation, and acting with total incompetence. Again, no response or apology given by Keith Dunn OBE.08-12-2025. I received an email from Ed Price from the Education Achievement Service, EAS, titled 2026, Chepstow School, Your Complaint, Invitation to Meeting of the Complaints Committee Important, and stated, Dear Mr. O'Brien, as the clerk to the governing body of Chepstow School, we have been instructed to convene a meeting of the Complaints Committee to hear your recent complaint. This is following Chepstow School complaints procedures, with the complaint previously responded to at Stage B of the process by the Vice Chair of Governors. The committee want to give your concerns full consideration, so a meeting has therefore been scheduled for Thursday the 8th of January, 2026 at 4:15 p.m. on MS Teams. A link will be sent with the agenda. I asked 8 questions about the school complaints policy, and where he is quoting from. Due to his vagueness, that didn't appear to be part of the policies, and said that I wanted a face-to-face meeting, as a MS Teams meeting is not stated in the school complaints policy, only in the Welsh guidance, and only if all parties agree, which I did not. These questions and my statement were ignored in his response dated the 9th of December, 2025, and responded with circumlocution, and continued to say, as stated in my original email, you will be sent an agenda for the meeting. My original intention was that this would be early next week at the latest, but this will be dependent upon your request to the governing body, to change the venue to the school, being considered. I did not request the venue to be changed to the school. It says in the policy it is to be held in the school. Ed Price said this, and I challenged what he said in regards to a MS Teams meeting, then gaslights me, and fails to answer my questions. The 9th of December, 2025, I responded back to Ed Price as the clerk from EAS to raise a complaint for his failure to answer the 8 questions about the school complaints policy, and where he is quoting from. The 9th of December, 2025, the same day, I received an email from the Vice Chair Jonathan Kearhan stating, Dear Mr. O'Brien, following a discussion with the local authority and the advice service, I have been advised to pause the current investigation into your complaints concerning the receptionist at Chepstow School, the head teacher's personal assistant at Chepstow School, the ALN co-support staff at Chepstow School, the chair of governors at Chepstow School. This pause is necessary for 2 reasons: 1, to allow the Stage C complaint to be heard and concluded; 2, to enable a full review of your complaints and determine the most appropriate policy under which they should be considered. In light of this, our meeting scheduled for tomorrow is cancelled. The timeline for further action will now extend into mid-January at the earliest, due to the Stage C complaint hearing. The only problem with this is that the above conflicts with the 4 complaints made on the 24th of November, 2025, that were separate from the new complaint made against the head teacher Kelly Waith, and has nothing to do with the 4 previous complaints. In fact, Kelly Waith was not part of his investigation, as Kelly Waith's complaint, which the governors failed to address, has already been referred to the EWC on the 7th of October, 2025. The 9th of December, 2025, I responded back to the Vice Chair Jonathan Kearhan and again questioned this, and from what named policy or guidance is this from, to pause an old complaint based on the outcome of a new complaint, whilst also stating the following: further complaints and evidence to be accepted that would have been presented in our complaint meeting, that was agreed by both parties, to take place at Thornwell Primary School, on Wednesday the 10th of December, 2025 at 2:00 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. with Joanne O'Donnell acting as note-taker. Cancelled by you, Jonathan, is as follows, and attached 8 further documents. When I asked many genuine questions, in particular where this states this in this school complaints policy, or Welsh guidance, there is a good reason for his non-response. That is because it is not mentioned in policy or guidance. This was a new complaint that had nothing to do with the complaints made, dated the 24th of November, 2025. I did not receive any further responses, and was ignored, and I still have not had a response as of the 17th of December, 2025. The 10th of December, 2025 Ed Price EAS did not respond to the previous email thread and starts a new email, stating the following next steps: the formal agenda, Teams invitation, and all related documentation will be issued to all parties on Monday 15 December 2025, as previously explained. Totally ignoring what I said in my email dated the 8th of December 2025. This did not happen, I'm guessing for the following reason: on further discovery, I identified that there was a conflict of interest with Ed Price, as he didn't announce his role within the EAS. It turns out that Edward Price is a friend and work colleague that share the same roles as assistant directors for the Education Achievement Service. In my response to his email dated the 10th of December, 2025 I stated, I know that Jonathan Kearhan is your friend and colleague, and as you are in the same role as Assistant Director for the Education Achievement Service, EAS, that can take the position as a clerk for a governing body, provided they are not also a governor, head teacher, or associate member of that same governing body, and any potential conflicts of interest are identified and managed appropriately, and this is also not mentioned in the school procedures, neither was it explained by you Ed with any honesty or transparency. This above appears to me like a conflict of interest, and because of your difficult conduct and behavior, and not answering my genuine questions with any honesty and transparency, it feels like your involvement here is to support the complaint decision of Jonathan Kearhan as not upheld, rather than act with fairness and impartiality, and without bias, as your conduct and behavior has already demonstrated this. It doesn't leave me with any confidence that the same conduct and behavior will not be shown in the review meeting. I did not receive any further responses, and was ignored, and I still have not had a response as of 17-12-2025.15-12-2025 I received an email from Rhiannon M. Service Lead, HR and Policy, EAS of my complaint about Edward Price. Due to the conflict of interest between Edward Price and Jonathan Kearhan being friends and work colleagues, who share the same role as assistant directors of the Education Achievement Service, and the response from Rhiannon M stated, following an initial evaluation Mr. Willington has decided that Mr. Price can continue his clerking function. This decision came from Geraint Willington, Director of Resources, Business, and Governance, Company Secretary, for the Education Achievement Service, allowing this conflict of interest to continue. This is wrong on all levels. It was at this point, I could no longer carry on with the complaints review process and take part in what is clearly a charade. To think that the EAS, who are funded by the MCC, would find it acceptable to allow Edward Price, who is a friend and work colleague of Jonathan Kearhan, and both assistant directors of the Education Achievement Service, to carry on the clerking function, after I identified this conflict of interest, and made this known to Edward Price and Rhiannon Ems, they carried on regardless of what had been said. The fact that this was the second conflict of interest after Edward Price was appointed by the Chair of Governors Keith Dunn OBE, and the fact that his appointment was only after I notified Keith Dunn OBE that he already shared my personal information to Nicola Shepherd, the school PA and clerk to the governors, who was also involved in the complaints, creating a clear conflict of interest, and this level of deceit from senior individuals that should know better, and have mitigated against this. took me for a fool. This told me everything I needed to know, and appears to have all the markings of a cover-up, and at the level of seniority of the individuals involved, I don't believe this is their first rodeo either, but for me was the last straw. This is of significant public interest. At this level of corrupt practices that I have had to endure, it begs the question, how many others have suffered the injustice at the hands of these governors who are supposed to investigate with fairness and impartiality, without bias, but have done the exact opposite to protect the teachers' serious wrongdoings. This makes them gatekeepers, not governors. I do not speak for all, as I'm sure this is an isolated incident, but more needs to be done to protect the parents who have genuine concerns on safeguarding, and to rely on facts and hard evidence, and not the word of a registered mental health nurse, because of her position, who is not qualified to make these claims. The non-existent involvement of the local authorities, receiving no emails, or letters or any communication at all, of what their obligations were under their local authority. Council Constitution, as agreed by the County Council at its meeting on the 10th of April, 2025, was just met with silence, and appears to be clear to me of the reason: to cover up all of the school's wrongdoings. To coin a phrase taken from the EAS Governor Induction Booklet April 2023, act as a critical friend towards those who have professional responsibilities in the school, bearing in mind the governing body's own responsibility to promote high standards of educational achievement, appears to be double-speak, to protect the wrongdoings, and minimize the liability to the council. The MCC local authority has also shared DTR MAFs with other local authorities, as identified by the unredacted disclosure of the DTR MAFs showing those email addresses provided by MCC, and to date I still have not received any communication in regards to any safeguarding records held by those authorities or any further undisclosed safeguarding documentation by Monmouthshire County Council. I am in the process of requesting that information from the 4 other local authorities. This appears to be systemic maladministration on all levels, and a scandal that I believe has not been seen before in the history of safeguarding in Wales, by the following people in public authority, and connected with the link of clear failures in the MCC Council's constitution, as agreed by the County Council at its meeting on the 10th of April, 2025, from the 330 pages that I have read in its entirety, as the Constitution is very clear in regards to the chief officer's responsibilities, and whom are accountable for the subordinates that report into them. Those responsible and accountable people involved at Monmouthshire County Council are Paul Matthews, Chief Executive, and Peter Davies, Deputy Chief Executive and Strategic Director Resources, whom James Williams, Chief Officer Law and Governance, reports into. Will McLean, Strategic Director Children, Learning, Skills and Economy, and Jane Rogers, Strategic Director Social Care and Safeguarding, whom Diane Chorister, Head of Children's Services, and Sharan Lloyd, Strategic Partnerships Manager, and Heather Heaney, Designated Lead Officer for Safeguarding in Education, and Sean Hayward, Head of Information, Technology and Security, reports into, and Catherine Evans, DPO, who is Sean Hayward's subordinate, and there can be no doubt all of the above and many more, not yet identified, from my evidence, who report into the above, would or should have been aware of what was going on with regards to my safeguarding concerns at Chepstow School from the MCC and the Council's constitution, as agreed by the County Council at its meeting on the 10th of April, 2025, has been broken. So has the Corporate Safeguarding Policy, final copy issued July 2017, by Claire L. Marchant, and the legislative acts contained within it, of which there are many. Also, the following are not exempt from their wrongdoings: Keith Dunn, Chair of Governors, who shares his public profile of Chair of Governors with Chepstow School, as Associate Hospital Manager Aneurin Bevan University Health Board, Honorary Consul for Japan in Wales Embassy in Japan in the UK, and Trustee/Member of the Board Intercultural Exchange Limited, and Jonathan Kearhan, Vice Chair of Governors, who shares his public profile of Vice Chair of Governors with Chepstow School, as Education Achievement Service, EAS, Assistant Director, in which this service is paid for by the MCC, Head Teacher the Olympus Academy Trust, and Professional Advisor Welsh Government. The evidence of Chepstow School and the Chair of Governors, Keith Dunn, and Vice Chair of Governors, Jonathan Kearhan's wrongdoings, that ought to know better, is undeniable, as they have been caught out by their own paperwork. I am very process driven, and I know some parents may say, why didn't you exhaust the process? Well, I intended to and reached the review stage. Until I identified this level of corruption, it would have been futile to exhaust a corrupted process by the school, with the Chair and Vice Chair of Governors being partisan to protect the wrongdoing of all those individuals, and silence the innocent parent's voice, arguably exposing this level of corruption after the event. I would have been subject to a lot more scrutiny. I agree that there are two sides to every story, but the other side cannot defend the evidence, as they have no evidence whatsoever, especially for the claims from the school about my mental health. And with the evidence I have, that can be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, I am very confident they have no factual evidence other than hearsay. It is incumbent of me and everyone to expose this injustice, and this letter is testament, and for all the other parents who have suffered at the hands of this abuse of power, by the very people who are supposed to govern the school, with fairness and impartiality without bias, and follow the policies and Welsh guidance, that was absent in my case, but were caught red-handed by their own paperwork because one parent knew how to request information that they never thought I would see the light of day. Not only has this identified a fatal flaw in safeguarding, but it's allowed dangerous teachers to wield power to destroy a parent's character, and have unprecedented consequences that will affect the life decisions that I can make in the best interest of my son. The safeguarding process has no checks and balances to stop registered or non-registered staff from making false statements, as I have evidenced, and this needs reform to protect innocent complaints from being whitewashed. It leaves me with no alternative but to make this a matter for Gwent Police to fully investigate, including obtaining all the records of data from those individuals that have received the emails I sent to, with attached evidence, for validation of my truth, that they are physically in receipt of, and without fear or favor, confiscate their electronic devices, as I would expect them to be given the same treatment as they would do if it were a member of public. I know this won't happen, but questions need to be asked of those individuals to identify who else was involved, from Monmouthshire County Council, from the overwhelming evidence that has already been given. It leaves me no choice but to finally seek redress through the courts, for the erasure of this unlawful and false information from the MCC Chepstow School, that has been sent to multi-agencies, as only a judge can determine this, and for the offences that have been committed, of what I believe to be fraud by false representation, defamation of character, discrimination, as well as offences committed within the criteria of legislation contained in the MCC's corporate safeguarding policy, given the overwhelming evidence to prove this disgraceful behavior. I wouldn't expect those individuals to remain in their public and teaching roles for the damage they have done to me. They picked on the wrong parent this time. Every parent should be asking, how was this allowed to happen? This could have been you. It is only when I read back on what I have recorded, evidenced and written, I feel absolutely sick to my stomach that this type of evil could have been done, and more is the point allowed by the teachers who you put trust in to do the right thing, and the MCC are fully accountable for those individuals, in ignoring, not acting on, or covering up their wrongdoings. Either way, the failures have been identified and exposed. This is about the safeguarding process, and the failures by trusted individuals who have corrupted the complaint process, that has diminished a parent's right to a fair and impartial, without bias, complaint to be heard, by attempting to silence and smear a parent's complaints, by defamation without any evidence claiming that a parent has mental health issues in an attempt to ridicule, for one of the most important issues, that is the safeguarding of our children, but this could have been any other issue that a parent faces, and with more powers soon to be given to the schools, my case proves, safeguarding is still wide open for abuse, and there is no fail-safe or contingencies to prevent a practitioner from making false statements as evidenced. This should be very worrying for all parents. The class teachers are fantastic at the school, but the leadership team, especially the head, deputy head, the DSP and ALN co-teacher, ALN co-support teacher, the PA and clerk to the governors, have proved to be very dangerous in their actions, that should not be fit to practice after this, and never hold a position within education ever again for what they have done. The chair and vice chair are an absolute disgrace to the service of the good honest governors, that do serve to do a fair and impartial job without bias, and those governors do not deserve to hold their public positions, especially when one is representing our great country of Wales. School policies, procedures, processes and Welsh guidance are there to be followed, not abused in protecting the wrongdoings of teachers, to destroy a parent's character. That is not governing, that is gatekeeping. Cambridge definition of gatekeeping: the activity of trying to control who gets particular resources, power, or opportunities, and who does not.